The problem with good theories or good ideas is that they're fictions. They are representation of reality, and there's lots of solid ones that exist in science that people understand, but then there's other ones that they typically, in most circumstances, hold under very specific circumstances. I'm thinking not in the sense of theories that you might think about in terms of the scientific theories that you hear about in physics and things like that, but I'm thinking in the social sciences. We have a group of theories in different areas, and a lot of it has to do with the sort of siloed nature of how we understand things. Sociology, for example, many of the theories that they have, they tend to put too much structure on the world. They tend to very much view the world in very rigid terms. There is sort of ability to change, but then there's not a lot of agency that's evolved that there can be agency within them to sort of have this hierarchical structure that, you know, individuals don't really make a difference. And then on the other side, like fields like entrepreneurship and economics, um, they tend to completely neglect the fact. They put a lot of onus on the individual and sort of represent the individual in a very positive light, typically. And they tend to not recognize that there is sort of structural things that happen. And then it's interesting if you're looking at like psychology, for example, even though that they're looking at the individual, they would say, hey, there are some real big differences between individuals and how they understand the world. Like things like personality traits, for example, they do matter, right? Like some personality traits, some people are easy to get along with. And this might be very good to represent many of the theories that we know, but then there's other people that are just like grumpy and, have uh, high narcissistic tendencies, for example. And you're like, wait a minute. No matter what we try to do and how we represent the world, they're going to be, um, they're going to do their own thing, right? And they're that they're sort of going to change the world to make it look like it's their world. Um, and that's the key thing with all of this is to recognize that these are just simply representations, and they're good representations typically in the particular context that you're looking at, but bringing them outside of those contexts, they don't work as well, right? And so I often think about this as like, you know, there might be, so for example, climate change and all that kind of stuff is very real. It is happening, but you know, from the sort of physics perspective, um, and the chemistry perspective and all that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, it's happening and it looks like that's the way it is. But then when you bring in people that are involved, you first of all have to recognize, the sociology side of things, that there's power structures and people are going to be very much defending those power structures to the best of their ability. They're really going to work hard, right, to defend those power structures. And then, on the opposite side, there are that from individuals, for example, there's individuals that are simply just not going to believe it because it sort of hurts their identity. And if you look at the broad spectrum of things, you have to realize that there's going to be all these different perspectives, and it's going to be very different um, in how people interpret it, and it's going to be hard to get people to have consensus. In fact, probably nobody's ever going to have consensus. Um, you know, there is a lot that a lot of differences in no matter how you chunk it up. Um, you might be the most amicable um, person that sort of sees and wants to help out the world, but you have to realize people are people and they come in all walks and sizes. And you can, um, so for example, if they have a strong personality trait like narcissism and sort of high on that end, I mean, there's nothing you could do, right? Like they will fight to the ground, right? Like fight to their death, literally fight to the death because they believe that the world is this way, or somebody just told them to be very oppositional, right? That they will be just like, yeah, that's just the way it is, and no matter what, right? They'll do all this sort of, um, crazy making behavior and um, the all of that kind of stuff where no matter what, the if it's not in their wheelhouse how they sort of view the world, you can't convince them. Right. So, what can you do coming into it knowing that there's going to be a lot of perspectives. Anything that you do that's important, that touches across a lot of people, there's going to be a ton of different perspectives. And you got to almost come into it realizing you're not going to touch everybody. You're not going to. You're only going to, resonate with a very small group of people at any given time. And everybody else has their own views. And, it's, from one side, it's like, yeah, it's a shame, right? Like we can't decide on anything because we're all going in different directions. But at the same time, we have to sort of realize this is human nature. And, not only human nature, but that is a lot of things that there is because of the fact that people are people and they do different things. We have to come to it realizing that they're all going to have far many different perspectives. And we just got to be okay with it, right? We have to be okay with the fact that people come in different directions and it's hard, but we have to accept it. That's just the way it is. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.